Hello there gorgeous gamers, and welcome back to PurePlay TV, and in this video we're taking a look at Sniper Elite VR Winter Warrior for the MetaQuest headsets. Is it worth a look, or would you be better off waiting for an advanced port that may or may never come? Watch on and find out. Sniper Elite VR Winter Warrior is the sequel to the original Sniper Elite VR, which released in the summer of 21 for Quest, PC VR and the original PlayStation VR. It was a decent time, the first game, nothing special mind you, but a fun distraction and a safe first dip into VR for the Sniper Elite series. This follow-up, however, isn't quite there, falling short of its predecessor in several key areas, feeling more like a DLC than a full-blown sequel, and I suppose that is reflected in its cheap and cheerful price point. If you played the first game, then the setup here is no different. In fact, Winter Warrior even makes use of some of the original game's maps. You'll sneak, or try to sneak, through the levels without alerting the bad guys to your presence while doing some run-of-the-mill stuff like collecting intel or planting bombs. For the most part though, it's running and gunning, which is kind of against the core philosophy of Sniper Elite. The game does encourage stealth and gives you some options to stay sneaky, though they rarely manage to hold together, and the quick burst levels usually end, or in my case, start with shootouts, interspersed with some light sniping, and then a mad dash for the exit. In fact, this time around, sniping doesn't seem to be anywhere near as important. Levels are much smaller, so they don't offer the kind of range that you need to get a good volley of shots off from a distance. Instead, most enemies are within the reach of a submachine gun, or, when the game funnels you through tunnels and corridors, some well-placed pistol shots. Sniping just isn't the focus here. The levels themselves are quite short too, with most being done and dusted in under 10 minutes, and with the story mode being beatable in under 2 hours. The story does offer some replayability by way of in-mission challenges and collectibles, but I didn't find myself wanting to go back for them, mainly because none of the levels really stood out as being anything special and worth seeing more than once, sadly. Gameplay wise, it's the same deal as last time. You've got space on your hip for a few grenades and 2 pistols, then on each shoulder you can holster either a rifle, an SMG or a shotgun, so you've got several potential ways to off the fascists at any time. Those who love their immersion will be happy to know that you can manually reload every weapon, though I found this to be quite cumbersome in the heat of battle and often frustrating, so I actually played with the auto reload feature on. I know, I'm scum. But when I'm getting shot at by half a dozen Nazis and I'm trying to back off into cover, I don't want to be fumbling with reloads. I'm here for a bit of fun. I'm not training for the next World War. Though maybe I should be. I should also mention that the game's AI is pretty poor, with enemies often running straight into my line of fire. Other times they'd bugger off outside of mission zones, so I'd have to coax them back into view to complete the mission. The game's story isn't much to speak of. You play through the memories of an Italian soldier who in the present day recounts his behind enemy lines missions. To be fair, the voice acting, for what little there is, mainly the old guy delivering exposition, is fairly good, but there are just no characters to get close to learn about, to care for, or even to hate. Everybody is simply a target, and that's it. The first game was similar in this respect, so I'd have hoped that some lessons would have been learned in this semi-sequel. Sadly, that's not the case, and some of my previous issues with the gunplay are also still present. Aiming down the sights of anything other than a sniper scope is just not nice, and it never feels accurate. Instead of putting weapons up to my face to get a decent shot off, I relied on firing from the hip, letting the first couple of bullets and their visual markers act as a kind of guide for my follow-up shots. It's not the ideal way to play any shooter. And lastly, I can't go without speaking on the visuals. I played on MetaQuest 2 and for the most part it looked decent enough, though the frame rate would tank at times and there's a general lack of polish overall. For the headset it's running on, it's okay. Serviceable, but I can't help but wonder why Winter Warrior has been restricted to the MetaQuest series of headsets and hasn't gotten a release on PC VR or the PSVR 2, where the game would surely be able to run a lot better, look a lot better, and hopefully play a lot better. As it stands, Sniper Elite VR Winter Warrior is a hard one to recommend. The story is over in less than 2 hours, though you do get a couple of other game modes once you beat the story, a wave-based horde mode of sorts, and a mode where you need to hunt an enemy sniper. There's some fun to be had with both, but I can't help but think if maybe those modes were fleshed out a little more and the story was dropped entirely, we could have had a cheap and cheerful package that delivers consistent, replayable fun. If you enjoyed the first one and really want more, go for it, but do so with the expectation that it's just not going to be as good. And if you're a newbie looking for their first taste of Sniper Elite VR, I suggest you start with the previous game. And that is the end of this review. Thank you for watching, it's always appreciated. If you enjoyed this video and want more of this good stuff, go on below, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and give the bell icon a ding so you're notified whenever we've got new stuff for you to watch. I've been Chris, you've been gorgeous, and I'll see you on the next one. Until then, cheers my dears.